for a while. So,
It's a metaphor there.
Thanks. So with that, we'd like to turn to our industry awards and bring Maureen McMahon up as a panelist for to be introduced by Andrew Savickas.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And while Maureen's joining us. So this first award is named for one of BISG's longtime volunteers and advocates. It's the Sally Dedecker Award for Lifetime Service, and it recognizes the tireless and persistent efforts, often unseen, of an individual working on behalf of the book industry. Past recipients include Michael Bamberger, who's counsel for BISG, Mike Shatskin of the Ideological Company, and the late David Coley of Baker & Taylor. I am delighted to be able to introduce this year's recipient, Maureen McMahon, of BISG member Kaplan Publishing. Maureen is one of the most get-it-done leaders anywhere in book publishing. Her engagement with BISG stretches back a decade to a time when metadata was still the Wild West and many best practices were still in development. Brian shared with me a story I think exemplifies that get-it-done style. After hearing the results of a 2012 BISG study of what exactly happens to metadata once it's shared with supply chain partners, Maureen went back to her office and asked, what do we need to do to make sure our metadata is right before we send it to anyone? But she didn't just ask, Maureen made sure it happened. For the past 7 years, Maureen has been an officer of BISG, serving as treasurer, then chair, and most recently as immediate past chair. To each role, she's brought a characteristic focus and a commitment to solving every problem that presented itself. As treasurer, she led efforts to figure out what a responsible level of reserves should be. Her early and persistent commitment to the topic helped BISG find and protect the resources that made it possible for BISG to weather difficult times, including this past pandemic year. As board chair, she led an effort to wholly transform the governance model for BISG, shifting the at-large seats to segment-specific roles, limiting terms, and mandating the use of a nominating committee to open up application and selection. Taken together, these changes ultimately reduced the size of the board from 35 to 14 members. Not surprisingly, the work required to study, propose, evaluate, and approve these changes took only 5 months, ultimately earning unanimous support from the board, many of whom would lose their seats and help the membership. Gaining unanimous support is a hallmark of Maureen's time at BISG. She left no stone unturned. If she didn't understand something, she made time to figure it out. If she thought you might have a concern, she wrote an email, picked up the phone, scheduled a meeting, and listened, truly listened, for both understanding and the opportunity to find a mutually agreeable path forward. She did the work to make BISG better, much as she has done at Kaplan and in the roles that led her there. When the award for lifetime service was created, the words we chose, to recognize the tireless and persistent efforts, often unseen, of an individual working on behalf of the book industry, those words were written to evoke the spirit of its namesake, Sally Dedecker. As much as they describe Sally, who was all in for BISG, they also describe Maureen McMahon, equally all in for BISG, at a time when her leadership redefined both the organization and its possibilities. I am honored to recognize Maureen as BISG's 2021 recipient, and I invite her to join us on this virtual stage for a well-deserved celebration. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I am so grateful for this recognition coming from an organization that has already given me so much in terms of professional growth and friendships. It means a great deal. Since our theme is ensuring a sustainable future, I'd like to celebrate some of the special things that BISG is sustaining. We're sustaining books, of course, a limitless source of ideas and insights, inspiration, entertainment, and comfort. There are other sources for those things, of course, video games, the internet, games, Netflix, but books are special. They don't interrupt you with reminders or cut you off if you lose internet access, and they don't require updates because they're timeless. I believe passionately in the power of books to change lives, and it has been a joy to be part of an organization committed to their future. We're also here to sustain a way of working in service to readers. None of us own the end-to-end process of bringing an author's work to the ideal reader. The success of that enterprise depends on logistics, a word that really doesn't capture the magic of many people and organizations working collaboratively across the supply chain to put the right book into the hands of the right reader. We're here to sustain a culture of listening and learning and building new ways to connect creators and readers. I want to use this occasion to say how much BISG has sustained me. I hardly know where to begin. I've benefited from the wisdom and friendship of so many: Fran Tulin, Angela Bowl, Kelly Gallagher, Kempton Mooney, Peter Bayless, Dominique Rocca, Ken Brooks, Ken Michaels, Dennis Aboud, and of course the inimitable Sally Dedecker, for whom this award is named, and especially Brian O'Leary and Michael Bamberger, two of the smartest, kindest, most generous gentlemen to walk the face of the earth. I have many of you to thank for the books that have changed my life and those that will sustain me in the future. Thank you so much for this award. And here's the beautiful award. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Congratulations.
Congratulations, and I hope, Maureen, you have a moment to look at the chat. People have been, while you've been speaking, people have been weighing in a variety of different ways. So we'll see if we can capture it for you. So congratulations to Maureen McMahon on this award, and we'd like to recognize a second person, Connie Harbison, who's Director of Authority Control at Baker and Taylor, and inimitably the chair of BISG's Subject Codes Committee. As Connie comes online, I'll pause for a minute and to make sure that she hears her entire introduction. There you go, Connie. This is like that walk from the back of the room to the front of the room.
Right.
Except that you all you have to do is turn the camera on. So let me introduce you, and then we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.
So earlier in this meeting, you saw the debut of what I call our breadth and depth reel. You didn't hear it, but we're going to try and remedy that after this ends. But it was titled "We're More Than BISAC Codes." And it's true, BISG is more than BISAC codes, but we are also proudly the home of BISAC codes. North America's standard for subject classification for the past 25 years. As anyone familiar with them will know, BISAC and subject codes in general are the thing that makes it possible for readers to find books. And the more readers that find books, the more books we sell. So they're a critical part of our ecosystem. And yes, BISAC turned 25 last year. And for 17 of those 25 years, the committee that debates and creates the code lists for the industry has been chaired by Connie Harbison, who's recipient of BISG's 2021 Industry Champion Award. So this award honors an individual whose efforts have advanced the publishing industry as a whole. Every decision that Connie makes fits that description. Throughout her tenure, she's consistently pushed for solutions that help the industry bring books to the right readers. Along the way, she's created a committee whose members can argue strenuously about a change, but come together at the end of a meeting and certainly at the end of a year to agree on a new code list and a new approach to describing how books are sold. Connie's tenure is truly remarkable. Not to scare anyone off, but chairing a committee is hard work. Each committee meets monthly, and the BISAC meetings are by far our longest, typically 3 hours. There are agendas to plan, notes to take, people to manage. Sometimes there are personalities to manage. Uniquely among our committees, Connie writes her own minutes. Each fall, those minutes become the basis for hundreds of proposed changes to the existing code list, and it's meticulously prepared before the new list is approved and becomes the standard for the coming year. Ask her a question sometime, any question, and you're likely to hear an answer that starts something like, you know, the committee looked at that before, I think in 2008, let me check and get back to you. And she does get back to you with history and rationale and a suggestion for what should happen next. That archive and her absolute mastery of it is a model for any standard and as well for BISG. So before the pandemic, Connie's Subject Codes Committee was the only one that regularly met in person in New York, with a call-in option for people who couldn't make it to the city. It's well known that Connie doesn't like coming into the city. The only way I could get her to accept this award was to promise that the meeting would be virtual. But Connie knows and understands the importance of putting people in the same room to debate, to deliberate, and sometimes laugh at the long history of subject classifications that she's helped build. So BISAC is 25. We didn't have the party we should have. The pandemic made it hard to celebrate, well, and anything. And the truth is, if we had a party in New York, Connie probably wouldn't come. She's about the work, and we're the better for it. With thanks for her service, I'm honored to recognize Connie Harbison, Baker and Taylor as recipient of BISG's 2021 Industry Champion Award.
Thank you so much, Brian. And it's funny you mentioned that the video you showed earlier. So thank you for showing that BISG is more than subject codes, because sometimes I forget that as well. So when I received this award in the mail, I tried to explain to my family what this award meant and what it was for. And I can tell that they didn't really get what it was for. So I also appreciate being in the virtual room with people who really appreciate what it was for and understand the importance of the standards as much as I do. So I want to thank Brian, Jonathan, and of course the BISG Board of Directors for recognizing me for this award. And I wanted to mostly thank the members of the subject committee, especially those who have been active participants over the years. I believe that their passion and dedication is unique to any of the BISAC committees. And I look forward, when I'm actually back in my office, to displaying this beautiful award. And thank you again to all of BISG. I'm truly honored to be recognized.
And Connie, as I said to Maureen, I hope you have a moment to take a look at the chat. A number of people have weighed in. There's one question from Bill Kasdorf that, have we taken insurance out on you? And but also as Rena Kornblue, who you know quite well, said congrats and described you as queen of the subject code nerds. So it's a good title to have. Thank you and congratulations again. And in particular, thank you for your extended service making BISAC what it is today.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have one more award to give, our Industry Innovator Award, which goes to Andy Hunter. And to introduce him, we have Noel Santos, who will be in a minute. So we'll just wait while they're brought up as panelists. Hi, Noel. How you doing?
Hi.
And hi, Andy. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to turn things over to you, Noel, and to introduce Andy.
Congratulations to Maureen and Connie. And good afternoon, everyone. I am Noel Santos, proprietress of your favorite indie bookstore. Don't worry, it's our secret, the Lit Bar in the Bronx. It is my great pleasure to be back on the BISG stage. Last time I was here, I was invited to speak on a panel, and you all surprised me with the Industry Innovator Award. This year's theme is ensuring a sustainable future for the book business. How fitting, because I'm back to present the Industry Innovator Award to someone whose platform is benefiting authors and content creators, strengthening the viability of indie bookstores like the Lit Bar and our communities around the world. Andy Hunter will receive the Industry Innovator Award, which recognizes an organization or individual who boldly reimagines what publishing is and can be. Hunter launched Bookshop in January 2020, weeks before the pandemic changed the landscape for retailing around the world. Since launch, Bookshop has partnered with hundreds of indies internationally to provide a fulfillment option for direct custom consumer orders, and we get paid just for showing up. It's now my distinct honor to present the most worth recipient of BISG's Industry Innovator Award to Andy Hunter. Andy.
Thank you so much. And thank you to BISG for this beautiful award. And congratulations also to all the other award recipients. And it's great, really great to be here. I have to say that, you know, it's been a wild year. We launched in January 2020 and on January 28th. So we're only about a year old, but we've sold about $70 million worth of books and earned almost $14 million for independent bookstores. And an additional few million for other affiliates that are using us instead of Amazon. Affiliates like Time Magazine and BuzzFeed that used to link to Amazon for all of their editorial content and now link to Bookshop. And all of this is really, really critical right now because, as everybody here knows, because you're all in the book industry study group, so you should know better than anyone how much of a turning point this whole industry is in. We're at a point now where Amazon's most likely selling more than 50% of all new books, probably close to 60% of all new books. The last number I could get that was definite on that was in 2015, they were at 37%. So that growth rate was a growth rate of about 6 to 8% year over year. At that rate, Amazon's going to be selling 80% of new books in 2025. So that's coming right around the corner. And that's what's going to happen unless we all make a concerted effort to be very conscious about how the industry is going and to reinforce innovation anytime it pops up. That reinforcement, you know, I think is really important that a lot of it is focused on independent bookstores because independent bookstores are a lot more than just retailers. They're community advocates for books. They are passionate voices on the ground in every community telling people that books are important and keeping books alive in that community and keeping the books a moving force in the culture. They're also, you know, I'm sure that some of you have read the New York Times article that came out last week about the book industry during the pandemic and how much it's all flowing to the top. Bestsellers that are bestsellers because they're bestsellers are becoming by far the dominant sales. And so when people say, oh, it's okay, the book industry hasn't really gone down because of the pandemic, the top line numbers are all fine. But meanwhile, it's the same very narrow selection of books that are selling. And the mid-list and niche books and independent books and the diverse range of voices that is out there in publishing and worth hearing are suffering because of the consolidation to Amazon online shopping. So in order to counteract that, we have to do everything that we can to support local independent bookstores. And the number one way is to shop from them directly. So Bookshop is an alternative for people who want to buy books online, get a book quickly, and want to support indies instead of Amazon. But if you have a local bookstore in your community that you love, the first thing you should do is talk to them and ask them how best to support them. If you don't have an indie bookstore that you love, or if your indie bookstore uses Bookshop, like the Lit Bar, then use Bookshop. But it's really important to support local bookstores right now. And it's also important as an industry that as other innovators and other initiatives crop up that are trying to diversify the industry, that we support them too. Because we're all on board for this in this kind of turning point moment where we can decide if we're going to preserve the richness of a diverse ecosystem around books, which is so critical to its health, or are we going to continue to let the whole industry flow into the hands of Amazon, which you know, for many of us, they're our biggest customers. It's hard to kind of take a stand against them. But if we're not careful, they might be our only customer, and that's just not a healthy position for us to be in. So please do what you can to support local independent bookstores over the next few years, and emphasize that message in all of your websites and your communications about your books, and tell your authors to do so as well.
Congratulations, Andy.
Yeah, congratulations, Andy. And there've been a number of comments in the chat as well that you have, when you have a moment, just take a look. We'll leave them up for a bit. And thank you for being here today. Thank you for the work you've done, and also thank you for being part of our conversation last summer, a time when you were fairly busy, trying to launch both in the United States as well as in the UK. And Noelle, thank you for coming back. It's really a great pleasure to see you again. And when you were last here, we were just innovating Lidbar, and it was kind of on the drawing board. It's great to see it up and running.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and congratulations again to all the winners today.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
And Andrew, if I might, Kathleen was unable to join us this afternoon. She's not feeling well, and really looking forward to the second dose of the vaccine on May 2nd. So, but I can give her remarks on behalf of the board.
That sounds great.
Thanks. And so I just wanted to add that we figured out the problem that made sound difficult for that breadth and depth reel, the We're More Than BISAC. So after this ends, we'll run it and it'll be kind of our going out to end the meeting.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Andrew, for your work today to keep us on track.
Oh, thank you, Brian.
So Kathleen, had she been here, wanted to thank you for being part of today's annual meeting. As you can see from the agenda and the content of this meeting, BISG itself has gone all in on ensuring a sustainable future for book publishing. While issues related to climate change are a big part of that, so too are things like standards, best practices, business models, and HR strategies that make our industry both stronger and more competitive. BISG succeeds through the collective actions of our members and their staffs. I mean, that's really evident in our recognition of Maureen and Connie today, as well as for Andy. These are the people who've made time to join committee calls, to research industry issues, to brainstorm options, and to debate a good path forward. Their collective commitment has informed and shaped the book business for the past 45 years, and we really look forward to continuing to do that important work. Kathleen would want me to say thank you for supporting her and making her the chair. The next 2 years are very important ones for BISG, and she's honored to be able to lead the board. As an organization, we're building on several years of solid growth in membership, programming, and service to the industry, and she remains confident in saying that we will do more for the book business in the future, and we will. If you're not active in any of BISG's work, as Andrew indicated in his remarks a few minutes ago, and today's meeting has piqued your interest, reach out to either me or Jonathan if you write to info@bisg.org. That's a good way to get both of us at the same time. We'll be happy to share the many opportunities to get involved. It's fun work, it's professionally rewarding, and we're the only organization that spans the book industry. The next annual meeting right now is set for April 22nd, 2022. And while we've been effective in making virtual meetings work, I know I'm looking forward to welcoming you next year in person. So put the date on your calendars and join us next year to celebrate the great year I know we have in front of us. Thank you again for being part of this annual meeting. And if you want to stick around for a few minutes, we'll rerun the breadth and depth reel.